Well, so much for toning down the rhetoric. Tea Party favorite, Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, targeted and insulted again. Some are calling it now sexist name-calling. Take a listen to some for yourself.
Why do you put someone like this forward who is a balloon head, who knows no American history? It's a ridiculous decision you guys have made. Do you know how little this woman knows about our history?
Well, Jamu Green is the former president of the Women's Media Center, a former advisor to Hillary Clinton, and a Fox News contributor. Jamu, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Megan.
Chris Matthews has come under attack by a lot of folks on the left for that comment and other comments he has made about Michelle Bachmann. And the accusations are that his treatment of her is sexist, and so is the treatment of her we've seen by others in the media. And your thoughts on it?
Well, one, it's not a surprise that this type of treatment is coming from Chris Matthews. I think if we were in high school, we would call it like it is. He's a bully, and his favorite target is women. It doesn't matter if Congresswoman Bachmann got all of the facts wrong. It doesn't matter if she looks off into the wrong camera. She, Sarah Palin, just like Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama, should not come under the types of attacks that we see coming particularly from Chris Matthews. And, you know, we even saw it with Keith Olbermann when he talked in the 2008 election about someone taking then Senator Clinton out back to handle her. You know, this type of language is so detrimental, not just to political discourse, but the fact that women are 50% less likely to run for office. That's the impact it has. Women don't want to put themselves out there to come under these types of attacks, and it doesn't matter if it's coming from the left or the right, it's unacceptable.
But is it a sexist attack, or is it just, you know, an impolite attack? Because, you know, I've heard him and the other one, and they make attacks on men and women. It seems to be based more on political or partisan stripe than on gender.
Actually, you know what? There are times that I have to walk away from my Twitter feed when it comes to Michelle Bachmann or Sarah Palin, my peers, my colleagues who I agree with on the issues. The type of like really vitriolic attacks that we see addressed at women, and you know, even coming from many women on the left. We see this because I guess there's an expectation that they would live up to a certain set of standards on issues, and I think their attacks that these women are facing go over the top, especially with Chris Matthews. We saw when MSNBC decided that he needed to be demoted from the anchor chair for election coverage and that he was strictly going to be a political commentator. It's because he crosses the line.
Let me finish tonight by putting a cap on that story that was running by us last week. It concerns the evil of slavery. Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, who's making forays into presidential politics these days, which will definitely add to the color of the competition, told a group in Iowa recently that our country's founders worked tirelessly until slavery was no more in the United States. I think it is high time, she said, that we recognize the contribution of our founders who worked tirelessly, who would not rest until slavery was extinguished in this country. Well, to those watching whose forebears know more of the true, sad story of this part of our history, let me confirm what your parents and grandparents told you, perhaps in trying to explain how attitudes about race crept into our American culture. Did the Founding Fathers work tirelessly to end slavery? Did they not rest until slavery was extinguished in this country? Well, here are the facts. I have a high school history teacher, a close friend of mine, to thank for leading me to these details. George Washington owned more than 200 slaves. Some say between 250 and 350. Thomas Jefferson owned as many as 200, his wife having brought 100 to the marriage as her dowry. James Madison, who drafted the Constitution, had over 100 slaves, had them all his life, didn't even free them in his will. James Monroe had about 75 slaves. Andrew Jackson, about 160. John Tyler, 70. James Polk, 15 to 25. Zachary Taylor, up to 150 slaves. Other presidents through those years, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, and Andrew Johnson, also owned slaves. So if you want to get your history from the Congresswoman from Minnesota, that's, of course, an option. Or you can check it out yourself.